This video is for those who are headed towards kidney failure and would like to do peritoneal dialysis at home using the cycler. Here are my 11 tips that will help you get the most out of therapy and to also know kind of what to expect when doing peritoneal dialysis at home. The first one is to always follow the steps you were trained with to do before you hook up and detach from the cycler. I know sometimes these seem like an overkill, like 2 minutes of hand washing, making sure all the doors are closed, but you need to treat it as if it's the most important thing that you need to do each day for your health. All these steps are put into place to prevent you from getting infections like peritonitis. These are serious infections and can really affect your ability to be able to do peritoneal dialysis. Also, make sure that you clean and change that bandage over your site every day. More so if you got wet or if you were sweating or if you got dusty and dirty. For me, I'd often wear an extra layer, like an extra shirt underneath everything, just to make another barrier between the outside world and the bandage covering my site. The second tip is to always double check before you hook up or detach yourself from the cycler. If something isn't correct or you hit your hand when you're hooking up, break everything down, get rid of it, and get new supplies. You are worth the extra effort and the extra work to make sure you stay healthy. And also, I made this mistake once, is I didn't check to make sure that the machine had primed correctly. That means it was pulling all the air out of the tubing, and I hooked myself up and I put air into my peritoneal cavity, and that hurt. It was really uncomfortable. It affected me for like 2 days, so don't make the same mistake I did. Always double check. The third tip is do not miss a night of doing therapy. Dialysis isn't a cure, and after doing peritoneal dialysis, your body isn't back to where it should be. Dialysis just keeps you alive. So you need to make sure that you're doing therapy when you're supposed to. For me, it was every night to keep your body as healthy as possible. Also, I learned this from our Christmas trip. We got stuck in a snowstorm and I hadn't brought enough fluids to be able to do peritoneal dialysis every night. So I talked to my clinic and I had to skip every other day to stretch what fluids I had. And I found out that if I missed a day, then the next time I had to do dialysis, it hurt a lot more. It was really uncomfortable. The fourth tip is to have a positive attitude. I think this is the hardest tip that I gave throughout all these because some days are really hard. Some days I just want to lay in my bed and stare at the ceiling. And then other times I'm out and about and I look around and I am so thankful that I am still alive and I'm able to spend time with the people I love. This is not something that we plan for. You know, nobody wants to head out and have to do dialysis, but we are. This is our real life. I think it helps if you continue to do those things that you love. I love to swim. I love to be in water, and that's something I haven't been able to do since getting really ill and now being on peritoneal dialysis. But I am still able to go to the beach or go to the lake and just walk along the shore, take off my shoes and socks and let the water, splash up to my knees. And I still find joy and fulfillment in that. I like to do crafts and stuff, and I pulled out my watercolor because that's something that's easy to do. And I found out that actually I really enjoy this. I like to paint. So I know we have less energy having to deal with kidney failure. So make sure that you use some of that energy to do something that you love. Find a new hobby. Find something that you've put off because you just haven't been able to find time to do that, and do that. Try to find fulfillment in your life. It'll really help. The fifth tip is to find somebody who will support you. I know this is the ideal and not everybody's going to be able to do this, but if you have a friend or a family member, ask them to come to the training with you or ask them to watch you as you set up your cycler and explain to them what you're doing. So in case of an emergency, they can help you. The sixth tip is to lean on your dialysis clinic for help. For those of us doing peritoneal dialysis at home, We just visit the clinic twice a month. You have a nurse, you have a social worker, and you have a dietitian all to help you. So make sure you go and you ask questions, ask for clarification, have them explain your lab work and your results and what you can do better to improve that. Also, be truthful. If something isn't working or something is hard for you to do, tell them, and they will help you make smaller goals so that you can reach your health goals, whatever those might be. The 7th tip is to make sure that you're still eating healthy and getting enough exercise. So the number one enemy of peritoneal dialysis is constipation. If you have too much stuff in you, then it makes it hard for that fluid to fill up your peritoneal cavity, and especially when the machine, the cycler, is trying to drain that fluid out, it makes it hard for that to be pulling all that fluid out, and often the machine will beep at you and say, hey, I'm not pulling off enough fluid. So to avoid that, you want to make sure that you're moving your body. You're not going to have enough exercise for a big, vigorous run or a big hike over the mountain, but being able to get up and move will help move things through. Also, you want to make sure that you're eating healthy. Now, you do have more freedom in what food you can choose, because we're no longer going from you have to save your kidneys at all costs to more of like, now we just need to maintain and keep our blood levels all right. But that doesn't mean that we can go all crazy and eat whatever we want. We still want to be healthy. We want to keep our phosphorus and our potassium and our salt at a reasonable level. The 8th tip is to never eat a big meal late at night. Peritoneal dialysis feels the most comfortable when you are as empty as possible. So if it's a holiday or you've been invited to eat out with friends, push that as early as possible. Maybe instead of having it be a dinner, have a brunch or a lunch. You want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time for your body to digest that food. If you get hungry later in the evening, I would suggest eating something that's light, like a salad, or for me, I found that snacking on popcorn was great because I was able to get that crunch and my mouth was working, but it really didn't fill up my stomach. The 9th tip is to try to get a good night's sleep. Now, it really helps if you have a schedule for yourself so that your body is used to resting and falling asleep at the same time. Not every day was I able to do this, but really I hooked up at 9:30 and my idea was to start therapy at 10 o'clock. Now, it's hard to get enough sleep because your belly is filling up and emptying, and the machine makes noises as it's working. It's not a loud machine. It didn't affect my husband. He's a deep sleeper, so he was able to sleep through it. But for me, I put just a fan next to me. It was actually an air filter right there that just kind of made some white noise behind to help me sleep. Also, I made sure that I was warm enough because I got cold really easy. So I often had an extra blanket on my side of the bed, or I made sure I wore socks. I also made sure that our window was nice and dark. You might find that extra pillows help to arrange your body to help the cycler be able to drain and fill you up. I didn't have any problems with the cycler complaining about how fast the fluid was filling me up, but it often get upset with like things weren't draining fast enough. If it feels like things aren't draining fast enough, it'll beep at you. So I found that I had to be laying on my right side and then situate the tubing correctly, and then I usually didn't have a problem. So it might be helpful to have extra pillows. The 10th tip is to find and do what works for you. Doing peritoneal dialysis, I think, will look different for each person. You don't need to follow exactly what I do and follow the tips that I have, because your situation and your body may be different. So it's okay to try different things, different positions in the bed to see if that works for you. It's okay to, instead of using the fan, maybe you want earplugs, and maybe the lights of the cycler bug you and you can put a blanket over the top of it. It'll take some time to adjust and to be able to feel comfortable doing peritoneal dialysis and to figure out the setup that will work best for you. When I first started doing peritoneal dialysis, we had our room situated in a certain way that we thought was going to work. But then after doing dialysis for a couple of months, we changed things around and reorganized things, and it worked better for us. So make sure you give yourself grace and patience as you adjust to this new way of life. The 11th tip is there will be some discomfort. Now, I found it most uncomfortable when the machine was doing its final drain. That means therapy is all over and it's pulling off all the extra fluid out of your peritoneal cavity. And it would be painful sometimes. It feels like it's pinching or like pulling on your organs, trying to like suck it up. And I didn't always know if it was going to be uncomfortable or not. I found that getting up and moving around would sometimes help. Now, if this continues to be painful for you, make sure that you talk to the people at your clinic, like your nurse, and explain what you're feeling and going through, because they can leave more fluid in your peritoneal cavity, and that should ease that discomfort and pain. I hope you found this video to be helpful to you. I also wanted to quickly add that I don't think I'm going to be able to make videos every week. That was my grand goal, but I'm finding that it's really hard for me to do. It takes up a lot of time and a lot of my energy to be able to do a video once a week. So hopefully I'll be able to do it every other week or maybe just twice a month. But I want to make sure I thank you all for your wonderful and positive comments. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. And thanks for watching.